Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special episode of the Adventures of Eredean. And this is a little thing that I thought up, and so this is alternate faction changed heroes for Hearthstone. So the way I've done this is I've numbered. I have a little pad right here that I have numbered 1 through 9 of basically these heroes who are on one faction in Hearthstone. So such as Garrosh, Thrall, they're both on the Horde. Jaina and Uther both being on the Alliance. Well, these are cosmetic only, so like just the portraits, maybe card changes, but not that affect the game in any other way other than the portraits, voices, stuff like that. So the way this would work, I would assume, if Blizzard were doing it, is kind of a pay to change. So you're changing your appearance, you're changing the voice to whoever this is. So we're going to start out with my number 1, and it is ranked 1 to 9 because number 1 is basically the one I believe absolutely fits perfect. There's no reason to change. There's maybe somebody better, but I think this works out the best. So, and then 9 is, I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe this will work, maybe not, probably not, kind of thing. That's just how this is going to work out. So, number 1 is going to be Varian Wrynn for Warrior. So, we're going to change Garrosh, just put Varian there. He's still going to armor up. He's a big warrior, strong. He's the Alliance leader. Garrosh was at one time the war chief. No longer, of course. I mean, only for 2 expansions, but still, Varian himself hasn't been around again that long. He only came back in Wrath, and even before that, he wasn't the best leader because he was a bit under the influence of Lady Prestor. So Varian is kind of just the best warrior on the Alliance at this time, at least that you can consider truly Alliance, kind of the way you can consider Garrosh truly a Horde. Just straight up, he is Alliance. He is going to charge in. He's going to armor up. He's got that big plate armor. Garrosh does. He's got that big plate armor in a way, but he's not all over. But he's just gonna equip himself, and he's gonna try and slash at his enemies, charge in, all that stuff, command some heavy hitters the same way Garrosh does. Now, you don't even need to change his cards necessarily. A lot of Garrosh's warrior-only cards are orcs, but while Varian does kind of have a not loving orcs kind of thing, he was not only in the orcish arenas for a long time, but as well as a hero of the gladiatorial arenas named Logosh, which means ghost wolf in Orcish. So that's some notes to make. But he also led some He led some Horde and Alliance troops in the Emerald Nightmare when he was trapped within there, and the spiritual, physical manifestation of Logosh actually came out in the form of Goldrin, who is Logosh himself within Varian, and he led them, and both Alliance and Horde were just, we follow you, that kind of thing in there. So he is the perfect warrior, I believe. Some changes you could make, considering they are orc cards for the most part. Something like we have the Arathi Weaponsmith that could be turned into... That could even still be the Arathi Weaponsmith, only instead be a human. An Arathi human, which would be League of Arator, I believe. Just League of Arator. I don't quite remember. It's been a while since I've messed with that faction. But that's just an idea, you have Kor'kron Elite, you can have 7th Legion Elite, 7th Legion kind of stuff. Same line, doesn't necessarily need to be changed, but it can be changed. So we're going to move on to number 2, which is Paladin. And this is my for sure Paladin faction change. Lady Liadrin. She is the Blood Elf Paladin. She's the faction change. She is the top of her class on the Horde. There is no one better that I can think of. She is just... She led the Blood Elves. She led the Blood Knights. She is Horde Paladin. And again, you can kind of change up Uther's cards if you really wanted to. I don't see a point to doing it. She is a... Above all, she is a Paladin. She was once like just strict Horde Blood Knight, but that is no longer the case, of course. So I'm moving on to number 3, Hamul Rune Totem for the Druid. Now, Hamul is actually Malfurion's protege, mentee. He is the Druid of the Horde. He's a big, strong Druid. I can't think of anybody better. Again, so, 1, 2, 3. I can't think of anybody for these guys. These are the top of their class. And I should note that Hamul, being a Tauren, would change up the hero list, finally giving more races, where it's mostly humans, mostly orcs. We got a Blood Elf. We got... got 1 Blood Elf. Got the 2 orcs. Got the 2... 2 humans. Yeah, you got the half orc, half ogre in Rexar, so that's still kind of another orc. You got, oh wait, that's 3, at least 3 orcs with Gul'dan. I completely forget Gul'dan because he looks like a fucking undead for some reason in his portrait. So 3 or 4 orcs, depending on if you believe, you're going to say Rexar's an orc. I mean, he's half orc, so it's kind of weird. But either way, so, we are adding a Tauren to that list. We're going to give it a little bit more variety. Somebody can finally play a Tauren if they wanted to. They can play a non-orc, human, night elf, blah, blah, blah. So, I don't know. I think that's a nice idea. And we're moving on to number 4. This is my Shaman of the Alliance. This is the big dog. He is Nobundu. He is a broken Draenei, whatever way you want to look at it, but he is a broken Shaman. He helped Thrall during the Cataclysm to hold the Maelstrom. He's taught the Draenei for countless expansions in the way of shamanism. He was one of the first who heard the call of shamanism. So I couldn't think of anybody better on the Alliance than Nobundu for Shaman. And then we're going to move on to number 5, and that is for mages. And, well, there could be some other ones. The big dog that I can think of is absolutely Grand Magister Romath. So Grand Magister Romath is one of the council for the Blood Elves. You could, he's one of the, top 3 positions. He's led the Sunreaver offensive, even past, God, what is his name? Alias Sunreaver, I believe. But, he is absolutely just the guy when it comes to mages, especially on the Horde. He's the big one. He is not the Blood Elf leader, but he's one of the main ones. He's one of the Triumvirate. So that's something to think about. He's another Blood Elf, but he's a Horde Blood Elf, which we'll get to in a little bit. When I speak of Valera. So I think that's pretty much good enough reason. He's not, he's obviously interchangeable. He's kind of low on the list. They're probably better. I can't think of any better though. I even double checked my research. I looked up notable mages. Couldn't think of anybody better on the Horde. On the Horde! So, working with that, we'll go to number 6. And this is Priest. I could think of 2 major Horde priests, and this was a really hard one. We could always go with some undead shadow priests, but I don't think that works with the pure Anduin's pure flavor at the beginning before he turns shadow or anything like that. So this is 2 different people, both trolls, which again adds to the variety of races in Hearthstone, which I feel like Hearthstone is very much missing out on. So my first one is definitely the one I would pick, but the second one is also kind of viable. So this first one is Senjin, and you may remember Senjin from Warcraft 3, or you may remember Senjin as just, the Senjin Isles, or the Senjin, sometimes called the Senjin Tribe. He's Senjin Darkspear. He's a big dog from Warcraft 3 who unfortunately passed away in Warcraft 3, obviously, leading his son Vol'jin, who also could be considered, but I consider Senjin more as a voodoo priest and Vol'jin more as a shadow hunter. While close to the same thing, I think Senjin is absolutely the perfect for Horde priest. And the second one is a fellow by the name of Zebra Hex, which was from the Ashbringer comics. He was originally in the Scarlet Monastery before anybody else showed up there, or in the comic, I should say, and he learned the ways of the light. Like, he learned the ways of Anduin Wrynn kind of light. So, less voodoo light and more just the Church of the Light kind of thing. So, I don't know. I think that kind of works out too. But I prefer Senjin, and I think this is another one of those times where you can swap a lot of Anduin's cards out for Horde counterparts if you wanted to. And that moves on to number 7, who is Rogue. And as you may or may not know, Valeria Sanguinar is a Blood Elf, yes. But she is not Horde affiliated. She's actually Alliance affiliated, leaning towards neutral. She's a Guardian of Tristfall. She's actually their enforcement, which makes her kind of neutral. But she has a very strong ties to both Varian and Anduin, mostly Varian, as well as Brawl Bearmantle, a druid of the Alliance. So either way, she leads more towards Alliance, but if nothing else, she's neutral. So she is absolutely an Alliance character despite being a Blood Elf. So that leaves us with, we need a Horde Rogue. And I couldn't think of anyone better than Garona Half-Orc. She is a half-orc, obviously by the name, you could probably tell, but she is a half-orc, half-Draenei. It kind of gives Draenei a character, but I don't know. It does add another orc, and that's unfortunate. What is the game anymore? Orcs. So that's why it's a little bit lower on the list, as well as being, if you consider Valeria Horde or Alliance, which you should absolutely consider Alliance, but either way, and even Garona is not strictly Horde. She does lean more towards neutral as well. So it just kind of works out weird. So that's why she's so low on the list. But I do believe Garona Half-Orcan would be the perfect choice in that matter. And that's moving on to number 8, which I came up with 3 different ones. This one was a hard one because there's no real big dog hunter on the Alliance unless you do a little embellishment. So what I came up with were Illyria Windrunner, sister of Sylvanas and Varissa. Varissa could also be considered, but I think the bigger hero here is Illyria, as well as being the stronger of the sisters. She is the strongest of the 3 sisters. Absolutely, Sylvanas was, of course, the Ranger General, but Illyria, I believe, was stronger, in my own opinion. The second one is Nessingwary, which, if Nessingwary were added, he would add the dwarf. Dwarves are probably... Dwarves, Tror, and Tauren are probably the most missed out on class or races, I should say. I almost said classes. They're just not very much there. That's unfortunate. I think Dwarves and Tauren should be more in the game. They're not very prominent, and they need more. You could say the same thing for Worgen or Trolls, but I don't know anybody who doesn't play Senjin Shieldmaster. You know what I'm talking about, man. And, you know, Organ Infiltrator is a pretty popular card as well. I mean, Big Game Hunter is kind of popular, but nowhere near as popular as Shieldmaster or... And then the third is Tyrande. Now, I would never consider Tyrande a hunter if it were not for Heroes of the Storm. Heroes of the Storm very much depict her as a bow-wielding champion. No idea why. She wore a glaive, and she rode upon a tiger. But whatever. And she was a priestess. She's a priestess over anything. She's a priestess of Elune. But hey, whatever. Heroes of the Storm. So the only reason I say that is it does seem like there's a reason why they made her a rangerish character. So that's just my idea. But I think Nestingwary would be the best. Though Illyria is also a high elf, but you know, Blood Elf and High Elf are a very thin distinction. Only being different by most of them being on the Horde, and most High Elves being on the Alliance, and you know, the whole arcane and fell magic addiction thing. So there's not really much of a difference to me. But Nestingwary would add the dwarf. Unfortunately, he was a character in the tutorial. So that kind of, I don't know. I feel like that invalidates him as a choice in a way, at least to Blizzard. We'll see. Maybe they can come up with another hunter. I would love to see that. I would hope for a dwarf. I think dwarves are pretty much the most popular, not in the idea of people making the character, but definitely like Alliance Hunter, boom, dwarf, you know, or Night Elf male, but, you know, do we really need another Legolas? No. And then we come to number 9. So as you can kind of see, I kind of ranted a little bit more on these last couple because they're just the harder ones. They're the harder ones. I can't come up with anything that's tangible. But 9, hardest, absolutely. There's few notable Alliance Warlocks, and it's hard to consider them Alliance. I mean, there's the biggest one that's actually Alliance that I can think of. There's 2, and there's I can't even remember him. He's of the Claw. He's the Warlock trainer in Stormwind. Not my kind of deal. And then the second one being God, what is his name? Alfred Whistlerbang, Master Warlock Demon Summoner, who summoned Jaraxxus in Trials of the Conspirator. That's his biggest accomplishment. Is that somebody we want to accept? I would not. So my only logical conclusion to Warlock was Medivh. If you don't know who Medivh is, you're missing out. He's a big character through all the Warcraft series. He is the last Guardian. He is the one who let the orcs through the Dark Portal. He's the prophet from Warcraft 3. He's a lot of things. He's a big character, very important, and he is extremely crafty in the fell and arcane arts, and that makes him the perfect warlock in a sense. He is technically Alliance affiliated since he is a human, but it's just so hard and his power level is so immense. None of these characters, at least in their current condition, I don't think they could stand against him. Absolutely not. Medivh had the power of Sagaris. So it just leaves, like, who else? Who else is there, though? If you know, please, if you have any idea of who would be better than Medivh, I'd love to know. Because I can't think of anything. And that's, I just can't. But leaving it there, I want to know what you think about my own decisions. If you have any other decisions that you think would go against mine, please let me know. And do remember, these are all faction changes of the originals. These are the alternate factions. So the way I would imagine Blizzard would do it is it's similar to just buying card packs. You'd buy a new hero portrait. You know, maybe the cards get changed, but the biggest thing would change is that it's a new hero portrait. So, you know, instead of, well, you'd have seen it in the video because I redid it, but you'd see that, and instead of the old, like, Garrosh's "I will crush you," Varian would say, "I will end you," or something like that. Instead of Thrall saying, "The elements will destroy you," Nabundu would say, you know, something to that effect. I can't think of stuff, but, you know, that was really shit. I haven't played Hearthstone in a while, if you can't notice, but nature will rise against you, and, you know, maybe even say some of the same stuff. I mean, Hamel would say kind of the same stuff for the most part that Malfurion would. So it just depends on how you see this. Would Varian be okay leading a war song commander? Should he instead be leading a, who would be the equivalent? Like, shield wall offensive commander or something like shield wall offensive commander, something like that. I don't know. What's your opinion? Let me know in the comments below. I did put quite a bit of work into this one, so if you like this video, please let me know. If you want to see some more stuff like this, please let me know, and please share it. Sharing is caring. Nonetheless, I hope you all have a hell of a week, and somebody hit my music.